agenda item number 6, petition, Don Moldy, Fred Bolts, Leah Sturgis, and Constance Howard. This is for possible action. The petitioners have submitted a petition to the commission requesting a regulation which prohibits wildlife killing contests involving mammals. The commission may accept the petition and initiate regulatory action or deny the petition. Before we get into this, just a little bit of a word on procedure. The petitioners have kind of laid out how they would like to proceed. I think we're going to have a PowerPoint to begin and some narrative from Las Vegas. Then the other petitioners here in Reno will discuss their portions of the petition. We'll have any commission comment as we've done on the other action items, and then we'll open it up to public comment. I just would like to ask everyone, I know this is an emotionally charged issue, when we get to public comment, please stick to the issues around the petition. I'm not real favorable, and I don't know that it's going to help the cause to be making personal attacks from folks on the other side of the issue, so please stick to the content of the petition. We do have a 3-minute time limit. I would ask that everyone be respectful of your fellow public participants and stay to your talking points. Grant Wallace, my vice chair, will keep track of the time. If you haven't filled out a yellow card, please do so, and we'll just bring you up, and I'll probably ask for a line in Reno, and we'll do the comment out of Las Vegas. So with that, are the petitioners ready? Mr. Moldy.
Mr. Chairman, Don Moldy, Reno. Yes, we're going to start with Connie Howard, who is in Las Vegas, and we'll do the introduction, and then I'll do the PowerPoint. Right.
Okay. Ms. Howard.
Hi, good morning. Constance Howard speaking on, one of the petitioners speaking on behalf of the Nevada Wildlife Alliance. I think you're too loud. Am I too loud?
A little bit. If you could turn it down a few more notches, that would be perfect.
Okay, if I speak like this, is it better?
That's a little bit better.
We're getting some funny feedback, but in any event, as you know, Dr. Moldy is going to be making the PowerPoint presentation, and I just wanted to make a couple introductory remarks. To begin, we want to thank the Commission and the public for allowing us to bring back a petition that would end wildlife killing contests in Nevada. As a point of clarification, the petition requests a ban on killing contests with mammals, but we should be want to make it clear that it is not directed at all mammals, and it's not directed at those big game fish and bird species that are already managed your system of tags and quotas. Rather, our petition is directed at those species protected through quotas or other systems, or those mammals that are unprotected. Specifically, is directed at the coyote, but also other species such as fox, badgers, or raccoons. The petition is designed, the point of the petition is to end the indiscriminate of mammal species. As a point of explanation, we didn't attempt to provide a specific definition because really this is your purview. We are not a regulatory, as you know, just wildlife advocates. I would also like to try to address the slippery slope argument. I think that this is a false and really only divisive narrative. The ending of killing contests is not the ending of hunting. Nobody in our group here is out to end in Nevada. We would just like to end indiscriminate wildlife killing contests. And in fact, we believe that ethical hunters and hunter ethics would support our petition. So, but it is something we actually believe we should all be able to come together about. So thank you. Those are my introductory comments and my points of clarification. And now I would like to turn it over to Dr. Don Moldy.
Okay. Mr. Moldy.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. How do we do the PowerPoint here?
I've got to turn it on.
Why don't you just put the first slide up, if you would?
And it's several slides, I'm assuming?
Half a dozen.
Okay, so I'm going to have the commission just flip sides of the table as we pull it up.
Oh, that's fine, whatever.
Actually, we've got it here, so we're good.
Yeah,
Stay right where we're at.
there's not a lot of text on it.
Okay.
I hope.
So, do you want it on the,
That's fine, just leave it there for a moment.
can the audience see it?
We'll put it on the screen as well, please.
Is it shown on that, or let's put it on this, okay. Takes a minute for it to come out.
Yeah. By the way, I do have a place to donate to the department.
We have one on here, this is the
Oh, you
remote,
have one as
and
well?
there is a pointer right there, that's where you'll.
I wonder if mine would work. I don't want to hit anybody's eyes. Oh, that would good.
And I probably just turned it off.
In case anybody's interested, 1995, you get a pen and a laser pointer at Best Buy. Not bad. Perhaps while we're working on this, let me just say 3 quick things before the thing comes up. We don't need this, the PowerPoint for that. First of all, it shouldn't be any mystery why we're here. We were here in March, as we all recall. We're here because of our concern about coyote contests, which have occurred in Nevada and may well occur again. In fact, the last one was probably a month ago in Austin. We're also concerned that should the coyote be removed as a target species, the organizers and participants could easily pick another species to impact in that way, probably mammals. So should the petition be adopted, or the idea we're presenting, we think that probably a petition should be the regulation should probably be done in a generic format, rather than targeting a specific animal and saying you can't kill a coyote, because other options would be available. And so any regulation that might be adopted, we think, should just be broader than one species. But there has been some misunderstanding about our petition, I think. Some of it may just be obfuscation by those who are opposed. This petition, which is revised, as you recognize from the March petition, is nothing more than an idea, a discussion of an issue that is brought before you. And it's an idea because there is no existing regulation that we can address that talks about coyote killing contests or wildlife killing contests. So according to Nevada Administrative Code 501195, Section 1, subsection C, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, basically it says that petitions are either to address existing regulations and fuss about that, or if it's a new thing, then it's perfectly acceptable to bring a description of the subjects and issues involved. That's what NAC says, and that's basically what this is. This is a discussion of an issue. This is not a proposed regulation. We don't have the authority to make regulations. You do that. This is nothing more than a word picture presenting an idea that we think is worthy of your concern. Nothing in this petition, no single word, no paragraph, no clause, no page is cast in concrete. Everything is negotiable. And while we're most concerned about coyote killing contests, we are, as I said, worried about proliferation involving other species. And if it were to turn out that the only acceptable thing would be to accept the petition with respect to the coyote specifically, then we would certainly be happy to start with that. But we're just saying that we are hoping to think a little more broadly should the petition be accepted. So with that, let's move to the next slide and quickly pass that. Oh, wait, I can do that, right? And which button do I push?
The side button.
The side button. Okay, there we go. Well, we know why we're here. Now, there was some concern in March that we were fuzzy about what we wanted, although we didn't think so. And since our revised petition has been out, there's been some additional concern about what is it we're asking for. And when I revised the petition, I put the word mammal in it for the reasons you've already heard, that it could spill over to other species if the coyote were removed as an animal to be targeted. And so Leah Sturgis and Connie Howard came up with this alternative wording to describe what we're interested in. And I'm sure for those in the audience that can't quite read it, It simply says, we request a regulation or regulations banning organized wildlife killing contests involving fur bearers and non-game species not protected by tags, quotas, or other means, which is simply another way of saying mammals. And so that's basically as well as we can do, I think, in terms of word selection. Now, one of the things that came up last time was whether the coyote status, which is currently that of unprotected, somehow needs to be changed in order for our petition to be adopted and for rules and regs regarding killing contests to be enacted. Our view is distinctly no. The definition of an unprotected animal under the law is basically that there is no closed season on that species. That's the legal definition of unprotected. And of course, the coyote lacks any other protections, like you can't kill them with traps or snares or poisoning and so on. So all of that's open as well. But basically, we don't see any reason why the coyote's status would have to be changed for purposes of this petition. However, having said that, we do think that the coyote status should be looked at by the commission and the department at some point, because short of the sage grouse, which may be the most talked about species in the state, the coyote certainly comes in a close second. Everybody, in the public's talking about the coyote. We're here because of the coyote. But yet, if somebody in the public calls you and asks you for your coyote management plan, of course you have none. If somebody calls and asks you for your coyote population status estimate, you have none. So sooner or later, I think the public's going to catch up with you, and we do believe the coyote status should be reviewed, but we don't think it has to be done for this. Now, we can pass over this. Public support for the ban. We know there's public support for the ban. Now, the slippery slope argument that Connie Howard raised a moment ago was brought up before as well. And we don't think there's any slippery slope to this. We think that these killing contests are very easily identified. They're very focused. They're very easy to see. And some of these are some of the characteristics you're going to see. You'll see a flyer. I didn't include a picture of a flyer. We showed you that last time. They're advertising certain dates, times, and places. There may be registration fees, prizes for animals killed, the biggest, the most numerous, gambling opportunities, Calcutta. I think I just went through this. And some others. There are sponsoring organizations. There are usually the obligatory post-contest displays of carcasses displayed in some manner or another with photographs of the participants. And these are posted on Facebook and so on, which is, by the way, where we get them. Saves us going out to take our own photographs. Human consumption of the animal is not likely. And the targeted species are not protected, if we could use that term loosely, from unlimited killing by any quota, tag, or other system. That's basically what we mean. Now, we're not saying that you have to ban social events and banquets as part of this. We're just saying if you want to know what we're talking about, these are the characteristics that we're talking about that describe and define what we mean by a killing contest. That's basically what I'm showing you here. Now, some would claim that our best argument with respect to these killing contests is the North American model of wildlife conservation. And some of you who were around when Mike Macbeth was on the commission may remember him one day saying that he lives his life according to the North American model of wildlife conservation, meaning, I guess, that he thought a lot of it. I'm not sure how you would do that, but I liked his enthusiasm for the model. So for those in the audience who are not familiar with this, we're going to quickly have a look at it. The North American model has been around for about 15 years. Actually, it's older than that, but in terms of when it sort of came into focus, that was about 15 years ago. And it's been touted, as you can see, as kind of a basis for management agencies and professional societies to make decisions and policies regarding wildlife management. There are conferences about this. People write papers about it. You can Google it. You can read all sorts of stuff about it. So this has turned out to be kind of a big deal. I won't go into the history of how it came to be, but this is currently probably the best description that is out there as to how wildlife management might think about itself this day and age. Now, to boil it, one thing I like about it is somebody came up with the term seven sisters to characterize the principles or the ideas that stand behind this concept. Actually, I made up an eighth sister one time, but nobody liked it, so I haven't included it. Wildlife is held in the public trust. There's absolutely no question about this. Wildlife, including coyotes, belong to everybody. That is absolutely true. There's a lot of legal history and case law about this. And in our own statutes, NRS 501.100 says that as well. So there's no question about that. One of the other tenets, a prohibition on commerce of dead wildlife, basically means you shouldn't kill wildlife and generate money for personal gain from it. Democratic rule of law, well, what's to say about that? We hopefully all agree that that's true. Hunting opportunity for all, that's the hunter opportunity goal, holy grail, first commandment of wildlife management, so that's in there as well. And then we get to non-frivolous use. There's a prohibition against non-frivolous use, meaning wildlife should be killed for some legitimate purpose that has some meaning to it, and not frivolously. International resources. All that means is that wildlife doesn't know boundaries, state or international or national, so wildlife has to be viewed from a broad perspective. And then finally, scientific management. So these are the seven sisters of the North American model that get a lot of chatter these days. And with respect to our petition, there are four, I think, that deserve an additional touch. The public trust issue, nothing needs to be said about that. We all agree on that, I think. Democratic rule of law, well, you've heard from the public. We don't, in a way, have an official voice in wildlife management, but we're here nonetheless, and we think we should be heard. The non-frivolous use is really one of the issues that gets the public's goat on this. And by that I mean when piles of dead coyotes are stacked up in a supermarket parking lot with some guys in camouflage gear standing around as though they've done a public service, other than destroying a lot of public property for no good reason. I think that's what most of us mean by frivolous killing, and we don't like that. The scientific management thing gives me an opportunity to promote, before we get to that, if you look at Sportsman's ethics, go on Google and type in Sportsman's ethics and look around, you'd be amazed at how little there is, really. There are generally only 4 or 5 things that you can find that talk about Sportsman's ethics. None of them that I could find addresses this issue specifically. But I liked what Boone and Crockett had to say. By the way, for those of you that don't know this, Boone and Crockett was established by Teddy Roosevelt, among others, and has been around a long time and collects all the trophy data and so on. And basically it says sportsmen should display a personal code of behavior that shows sensibility and does not dishonor the hunter, the hunted, or the environment. I like that. I think that's basically a terrific statement. I have a few other things to say, but basically that encapsulates the whole thing. Now, coyote. By the way, I agree with a member of the Washoe Cab that coyotes probably need some attention from this agency. Coyotes have, and we may have somebody here today that argues that a coyote is not a native animal. Some argue that. Depends on whose range map you look at, and it's too bad Ira Hansen is not here, since he's probably the one who knows the best by looking at historical records of what the fur trappers and whatnot saw when they came through. But coyotes are here, there's no question about it. And projects 14 and 15, the predator control projects that was funded by the commission 10 years ago or so, up to 2008. These projects, you spent about $500,000 on. And these projects involve wildlife services, the government trappers, killing randomly coyotes in management areas 22 and 23. Think down by Coyote and Pinnacle and along the side of Highway 93. Went on for 5 years, and it didn't help deer. There was no benefit for the mule deer, which of course was the whole purpose of the thing in the first place. It was going to grow the deer herds. Well, it didn't do that. But what it did do is that, let's see if, let me do my pointer here. What it did do, let's see if it shows up. Okay. What it did do is that it created, by the way, my credit goes to Kevin Lansford and Cody Schrader, who put this analysis together. Actually trying to make, that's okay, trying to make something, trying to make something out of the data that they had. And what this graph has, of course, is a blue line and a red line. And the 5 numbers on the x-axis, the horizontal axis, are the years, each year from 2003 to 2004 to 2008. And on the vertical axis is the title of it is Coyotes per Adult Female. And the blue line shows the pup per adult female ratio. The blue line that goes along flat for about 3 years and then takes a steep climb and goes upwards. What that basically amounts to is the litter size that was observed in these areas by virtue of killing, by the way, they killed about 1,200 coyotes over the years. So the sample is pretty good size. And what this demonstrates, homegrown Nevada data, is that what the scientists say, that coyotes can respond by focused killing, by increasing litter size dramatically. Here you go. This is your $500,000 demonstration of Nevada coyote reproductivity, showing that the litter size tripled over the 5 years that this killing was going on. But even more interesting in a way is the red line. The red line, which has a slight upward tick over the last couple of years, is the male to female ratio. And this shows that males increased over the last 2 or 3 years as compared to a lesser ratio before that. And the reason that that's interesting, the two together, is because when coyotes are killed randomly in certain manners, not only do you get more coyotes, that is, more litters, and in a minute we'll see younger coyotes, but you also get more males. And coyotes, in some ways, I suppose, are not too much different from humans. If they aren't raised with some family discipline and learn how to make a living in a decent way, juvenile male coyotes are not the kind of coyotes that you want to have hanging around your neighborhood. But it's not the fault of the coyote that they're there. It's the way that we killed them as to why they're there. So here's a look at the mean age of the coyotes killed during these 5 years. As you can see, the bars on the left are higher, representing nearly a 3-year-old average. And the last 2 years, the bars are lower, representing half of that. So another demonstration of how the way in which the coyotes were killed, Project 14 and 15, $500,000 spent on that. You get more coyotes, younger coyotes, and more males. Just what you don't want. So all we're saying is that coyote population dynamics, the way coyotes go about doing their business, does not favor randomly killing the animal and does not support coyote killing contests in the manner that we're talking about. The science is on our side on this issue. There's no question about it. So, do we really need to kill a few more coyotes in Nevada with killing contests? Well, I put a red no up there. Because here's what everybody conveniently, well, not everybody, but the people on the other side seem to forget, or they don't take sufficient notice of it. Every year in this state, we kill 10,000 coyotes a year, round numbers. Every year. In a decade, we kill 100,000 coyotes in Nevada. An astonishing number. that about half of those coyotes, 5,000 or so, give or take, are killed by wildlife services. Some years they're up around 6,000 or 7,000. One year here in the last 10 years, they actually killed 10,000 coyotes all by themselves in 1 year. Another portion of that 10,000 is killed by fur trappers, the private fur trappers who typically kill, in a good year, 2,500 coyotes or so. And then there are the other random killings by people who just kill the animal whenever, whatever. Ranchers kill them, sportsmen kill them. So as a rule of thumb, we kill 10,000 coyotes a year in Nevada. How in the world a coyote killing contest like we had in Lemon Valley last year where they killed 10 or 12 coyotes is going to help ranchers or mule deer or anything else is absurd. The small number of coyotes killed by killing contests has no impact in terms of the general disruption of the animal's well-being that we do ourselves to the tune of 10,000 a year. It's a dramatic number. So we don't think that these killing contests in any way add anything benefit beyond what's already done to the animal. And with respect to that, our answer about whether coyote killing contest benefits livestock producers is no. Random killing does nothing. I already showed you how many are already killed. And random killing produces the kind of coyotes you don't want. Young, male, juvenile. Furthermore, everybody knows that's been following this stuff for a while that it's Wildlife Services' job to protect the livestock business, the agriculture business, the public dumps, the airports, all this stuff. That's not the job of a weekend coyote killing contest to provide that service. That's the job of the government trappers, Wildlife Services. That's what they're there for. That's their 100-year charter. And by the way, according to company policy, they're not supposed to randomly kill animals. They're supposed to target offending animals and leave the ones that aren't offending alone. That's what their administrators tell you if you write and complain about things, even though we know that that's not the case. So here we are talking about sportsman's ethics, things of that sort. This, by the way, there's so many of these pictures around. I've left out a number that are just so offensive. This one kind of gets me. This is a Wyoming photograph. This is not Nevada. But there's something sort of artistic about this, even haunting, perhaps. A bunch of dead coyotes, I don't know, probably 100, 150, laid out in some order as compared to chaos, which is usually the case. Sort of a lighting effect, kind of an artistic photograph, really, when you think about it. But, here's the local one. From the Elko World Championship Coyote Killing Contest in 2013. Now, let me wrap up with this. I think that the North American model, sportsman ethics, speak to our side of the issue, but to me, they're not the reasons why, at least for me, I don't like these things. I was over in Elko a week ago, taking in the town hall meeting that Mr. Wakeling, Brian Wakeling, had organized for the state. Actually, it was in Ely as well, and also at the Reno meeting. But the Elko meeting was interesting because mostly these town hall meetings were to talk about ungulate hunting, deer hunting and whatnot, but there was a lot of talk about tags, too many tags, not enough tags, too many hunters, ATVs running around, all this stuff. And in the middle of this discussion, mostly about elk hunting and deer hunting, a gentleman spoke up and said, I've got something that bothered me that I saw recently. And he described having seen a deer with his head cut off. And apparently the remains of the deer still in place wherever it died, I guess. He wasn't clear about that. And he went on to describe another circumstance where he'd seen another animal that had been killed and only partly removed from the field. And he said that what bothered him about that was that whoever did this appeared to lack respect for the animals that had been killed. And as he spoke of this, he was sitting a little ahead of me, off to the left. I looked around the room and I saw, a number of people looking at him, and I saw a number of heads nodding, I guess indicating that they agreed with his comments about this respect issue. And then afterwards, I got to thinking, I haven't seen this gentleman here today. I wonder if he were here today, if he would extend this concept of respect for life to this issue. I wonder what he would say. My guess is that he would not. My guess is that he would not because over the years I've heard more times than I can count comments by some sportsmen that respect for life taken really only extends to certain animals and not to others. And I don't understand that point of view. That is not my point of view. But it is some of your constituents. You know it and I know it. I've heard it for 40 years. So, to me, the real reason to do something about this involves the issue of respect for life. And if there's any kind of a commandment short of hunter opportunity that you ought to live by, it seems to me that it's respect for wildlife, no matter which critter we're talking about. Coyotes ought to get it as well as a bighorn sheep, in my view. And I think that's mostly what the public thinks as well. And so, to me, you would be taking a step forward in wildlife management if you adopted our petition and we went ahead and made some regulations that made sense and did something about this. And the reason you would be doing something of benefit is because you would essentially be saying to those noisy constituents of yours, who are really just a handful, I don't think most sportsmen would agree with these guys, you would be saying to them, look, respect for wildlife is more important than you guys thinking that this is going to get rid of fishing contests or do away with bighorn sheep hunting or some crazy thing like that. You would be saying, look, when you guys kill something, you ought to respect it. We believe that's the way things should be in the state of Nevada. And to me, that's the strongest argument. So with that, I'm done.